You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 123. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. Every single one of us has a story, one that tells of the journey of how we got to where we are today. It's rare, though, that we share this journey in its entirety with friends, acquaintances, and especially with the world. My guest today has done that, though, and her journey is one that movies are made of. Naz Meknat is a celebrity stylist in Los Angeles, and yes, it sounds like it is all glitz and glamour, but her path to getting there was nothing short of incredible. Naz recently released her book, 7,000 Miles to Freedom, and details what her life looked like being born in Iran in the 70s to being in an abusive marriage and needing to flee the country alone overnight, and her journey to not only becoming a U.S. citizen, but to launching her career as a celebrity stylist working with clients such as Sterling K. Brown from This Is Us, or Frozen 2 if you're my kids and don't get to watch primetime TV. I am so excited to share Naz and her story with you and our conversation about not only her journey and the book, but also about how she's found her voice in advocating for issues that mean a lot to her, even when it's meant losing clients over it. Hi, Naz.
Hi.
I am so excited to finally chat with you because I feel like I know you. I know your life history now.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you take a moment to introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Sure. My name is Naz Meknat. I am a celebrity wardrobe stylist in Los Angeles and an author, I guess I should say.
Yes, not you guess, you are.
Yeah, my book, which is a memoir, 7,000 Miles to Freedom, was published in August of 2021. So here we are.
And I got to read it cover to cover. What's funny is my kids, they always want to know what I'm reading. And so I explained to them that I was reading your life story and they're like, well, who is she? And I said that you are a celebrity stylist. And well, like who? And I said, well, one big one you would know is Sterling K. Brown. And they're like, no, we don't know him. And I said, yeah, in Frozen 2, the Black Soldier. And they go, oh, that's so cool.
That's one way to relate, to kids. Yeah.
Yeah. They're only 5 and 6. So they don't know like This Is Us or anything, of that category, but they knew Frozen 2. So you were way high up in their eyes. My 6-year-old son goes, we got to impress her because she's a big deal, Mom.
Oh, so cute. Children, so innocent.
Yes. Let's talk about your story and why you wrote the book, because it is I felt like I was there with you and it was intense. I was reading throughout the day, at night before I'd go to bed, and there'd be moments where I told my husband, oh my God, if I didn't know Naz and communicate with her now, I'm wondering like what's going to happen. And I still was like, what's going to happen next? But I know that you're here in the U.S. and you made it and you're safe. But what an incredible story and journey.
Thank you. It's been a crazy ride. Most people know me just as a celebrity stylist in LA, in my new life. And before the book came out, I never really spoke in details about my past and what has happened and how I got here. So it was a surprise to a lot of my friends who've been friends with me for a very long time and been in my life, and even my own family, a lot of details they didn't know. So I've always been more of a private person. And I'm that kind of a person who's like, if nothing will come out of it, if it's just gonna add to people's agony and stress, what's the point of me repeating something? And it's past. And so a lot of details, was not spoken. And I didn't really bring it up to my family. And as far as my friends that I've made here, they had no idea. I've probably said like bits and pieces, but they didn't know the extent of it. So when the book came out, like I got a flood of phone calls and text messages like, what? You went through this? Because people see you as, obviously social media, a lot of people just put either it's their work or accomplishments or fun times, good times, partying, events, these things. And when people see that, they don't think that she might have come from a very, different background. And this wasn't always my life. And I had to fight very hard to get to where I am. So it was very interesting to see people's reaction and hear what they think and what they feel after reading the book.
Yeah. And as someone who I knew that there was a background to it when I met you online virtually.
Right.
So, I had that in the back of my head as well versus, she's a celebrity stylist and she was just born that way, that I think people forget so often that we have a journey and nobody truly knows the details behind it, besides ourselves, even those closest to us, as you said, with your family. Can you take people just a little bit on your journey so they know what we're talking about without giving the whole book away because we want people to read it?
Sure. Yeah. So the book basically covers my life from 4 years old all the way to when I was 23 years old. And it's funny because when people ask me, like, what's the book about? I'm like, it's about 3-4 different things. Yes, it covers my life and the journey to, me immigrating to United States. But it starts with the revolution that happened in Iran in 1979 and me seeing that, one of the biggest revolutions of all time of history as a child. And how it was growing up in a country that's ruled by extremists, religious, leaders, and how he was growing up under the watchful eyes of the government and where every single one of your steps are monitored and you get in trouble for the most basic simple things that humans do in their life. And it basically talks about that growing up in my teenage years and my rebellion side of my personality and how I fought the system in my own way and how I, got into a very violent relationship and to the point that I had to flee my country overnight to save my life. And the fight and the battle that I had to face to get to United States to be with my family and everything that happened in between. So my whole family lived here in the States. I'm the youngest and I'm the only one who was back home, and the journey to get to my family and save, like literally save my life. And how, there were so many obstacles to get here to my family. So it's basically the story of immigration, the story of, living under a dictatorship, growing up in a country like that. As a rebellious kid who doesn't just accept whatever she's told, and how I survive a very violent, relationship and domestic violence.
You're a badass, and you didn't mention that. The stories of what you went through, the men who came into your life, under the false pretenses that they portrayed of they're going to help you, and all of the BS that came out of their mouths. And I love at the end where you just tell the one guy, you're like, no, you're out of here. Goodbye. We're done.
Yeah. I
always you want them something.
Growing up, I was never we were never the family who had the privilege of traveling around the world, taking summer vacations. Like I had a lot of friends who came from, money and, they had the privilege of escaping the environment in Iran and at least for 2-3 months of summer travel to London, meet their families, to Germany, or like, go to Europe. And that was not my family. I've never been on a plane. I've never traveled like extensively. But I had a little bit of a street smart. My dad was a very alert and street smart person. He didn't have the highest education, but he had some sort of intelligence that he kind of made us to follow his footsteps in that regard. So we were not forced, but like it was a routine that every evening we would, sit down, watch the news with him. He would read the newspaper and will pass it to us to read. And so we were very alert. So we grew up to be more of alert, a better environment and kind of like have a little bit of a street smart. So even though I was unworldly, I wasn't like somebody who traveled around the world by the age of 23. And everything was so new to me, like seeing all these people and having to like fight these battles on my own. I kind of knew how to navigate my way to not to get in a very, very, very serious situation. So even though I don't want to give up a lot, but even though I like was mini kidnapped, what I want to call it,
Yeah.
And I was taken, against my will. I was taken out of the city, not knowing where I was and, what this person was going to do to me. I kind of knew how to, get out of the situation by just saying the smart thing and not showing weakness and being naive. So, just to your point that like what I told that guy, I just had it. I just had enough. And I knew if I was going to not to be a victim again, I needed to be strong.
Yeah, I was going to say that after your experience with your now ex-husband, that there had to be an innate, emotion and like, I'm not going to do this again, have this done to me. I'm going to do whatever it takes to ensure I get to safety at some point and, to travel to the United States and immigrate here. And I have to say, there were parts where I'm like, does she get a divorce? Like, who talks to this guy again? Where is he now? It's like a Lifetime movie.
I still get the question. People still like ask me, the ones who haven't read the book yet, they ask, so are you divorced? I'm like, read the book.
Yeah.
You'll know.
Yeah, but you have to read the whole book to hear how it all happens.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful read. I loved just getting to know you on that level and to know you, not just as a book that I've read. It's an incredible honor. I'm amazed at what you've accomplished and, not just what you've been through, but then you come to a country that you've never been to before. And here you are now, a celebrity stylist. And I know that's work and there's grind to it. It's not all glamour, but you have really paved your own way to do this. Like, how can you share your journey on that extent? Because I think a lot of people, it's something that they might strive towards, or, I want to work with a celebrity or do this. And you've done it. And you came, through this journey that people probably wouldn't expect.
I'm kind of envious of people who actually were either born or raised in this country, because it's such a cliche and I didn't understand this till like maybe a few years ago. You literally, whatever you want to do, you can do here. You have the opportunity and, you can do it. It's not like this everywhere else in the world. You have to come from a certain, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not as easy as it is in, United States. So I started everything very late because I got to this country when I was 23 years old. So I was already an adult. And by the time that I found I was always very interested. I was a creative child. So I was always interested in art and cinema and, theater and fashion and makeup, anything creative. I loved it. And I knew I was going to end up in this, in a creative industry. However, as I said, by the time I got here and I just, became a legal resident and a citizen and trying to figure my place, in here, in this new country, in this new environment, what I can do, what I can't do. I went to college at age 28. So I was going to, excuse me, a fashion student of design and merchandising. And 99% of these students are right out of high school. So they're like 17, 18-year-olds. So I had to like sit in a class with all these like super young kids. And, but I knew if I wanted to get in an industry that I'm very passionate about, I have to put a little bit of an education behind it. I didn't know you can just be a stylist without, having a formal training or going to school.
You can be anything you want here in the US without any training. You just say you are.
Exactly. I didn't know that. So I thought, what, I have to have some sort of degree and education. So I went to a fashion school and, when, as I said, I put myself through school and I was working and I was going to school at the same time. After I graduated, I just, at the time I used to live in Newport Beach, Orange County with, closer to my family. I just started very slowly kind of like making a name for the business and then having a website and, in getting clients that were, everyday people. There were housewives, there were teachers, they were, doctors.
The housewives of Orange County are not everyday people.
But listen, they were not on TV. They were just regular housewives. When I started, that didn't exist. Believe it or not, people always like, how old are you? I'm like, because when I tell them, I'm like, oh yeah, back then I started this like over 15 years ago. They're like, how old are you? So I started like very small in my community, the Orange County area. And it got to a point that back then there were not a lot of, stylists in Orange County. I was one of maybe 4. And I kind of like grew out of that community. And I started getting, after having a little bit of experience, started getting jobs in Los Angeles. So I was commuting, like I started working with an actress. I was commuting, I was doing photo shoots. And I finally just moved to, LA about 9 years ago. And once I moved to LA, the whole celebrity styling thing started because this is the center of, Hollywood and movies and, everybody's here. A friend had an actor friend who needed a stylist. I worked with him and then, he introduced me to another one. But it literally took years. Like it sounds like it was overnight. It took years. I worked very hard to prove myself and to compete with everybody that was at least 10 years younger than me. So they had a head start and I was just like starting really late in the industry. But I just, swallowed my pride and I said, I have to do the hard work if I wanted to do this. And I let my work speak for itself. So,
and it obviously has served you well.
Yeah, it has. No complaints.
I love it. Everything about it. I just want to talk to you about every part of the story. And I'm like, no, you people all need to go read the book.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. We can talk about it. I mean, there's so many details in the book that, people usually are like, even when I do interviews and I talk a lot about my story and my book, there's still so many details in the book that, people are still surprised. Like, oh my gosh, that part, this thing, that thing. People have a lot of questions.
Well, and I think if you have to read the book to get those details, to feel that emotion, because it feels like you were there with you through all of this. My stomach, this is just a testament to how well you wrote it. Like my stomach was in knots at certain points.
Oh, wow.
And I visualized you like in the apartment and I'm like, oh my, like what's going to happen? And I know the end.
Yeah, you know the end. I'm here.
Yes, yeah. But it's so incredible. And, it makes you wonder what other people have been through. If this is something that you've gone through that nobody knows about, we see the celebrity stylist and, everything looks glamorous and perfect and you're beautiful. And, life just must have been that way. You just were born and poof, this is what happened.
It's funny you say that. I have a friend and he's a really good friend. And we've been friends for at least like 4 or 5 years. And when my story came out, he was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought you were, this spoiled Persian girl from a very wealthy family. And, when you got here, you were like, Daddy, I want to like be in fashion. And he put you in school. And you're just like, I'm like, far from it. Far from it. And when I decided to write the book, first, I knew that I wanted to be 100% authentic and truthful. I didn't want to, it's a memoir. I can't, to be honest, this book was supposed to be a script, and it was a script first. It was a movie script, and a producer friend of mine was fascinated, and he wanted to make the film. So he hired someone and wrote a script. But with movies, if you're familiar, they changed a lot of things. It's funny because when you watch a movie based on a true story and then you read the book's everybody's
better.
Like, the book is so much better because first of all, you can just put all the details in a book. And second of all, it's just, they change things to make it a little more interesting for, the screen. And also they can cramp everything into like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read the script, I was like, I just feel it didn't feel right to me to make the film first, because it was like, things have changed so much, on the script that I feel the need of writing the book first and, be completely honest about everything. So if there is a movie afterwards, at least people will understand, okay, they did this for the screen, but the reality is that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be like completely and 100%, honest. And, when I decided to do it, I knew that it has to be, as I said, I'm a private person. So I had to think about it for a very long time. Do I really want to put my whole life story out there?
Mm.
Am I ready for this? And another friend of mine who is from the same region of, he's from Afghanistan, but with the recent events, we all know, the situation there. And he said something to me, and that was like, that's what made me go, okay, I have to do it. And he said, this is so much bigger than you. This is not about you. This is about that little girl that's stuck in, your country, my country, or somewhere similar, or maybe here, even like maybe she's in, Kentucky or Florida, but she's stuck in a situation that she thinks there's no way out and doesn't know what to do. And this will give a message of hope. And look at you, people like looking at your social media and think, what a fabulous life. They don't know what you went through. It's not about, it's an obligation. So that made me go, okay, when you put it that way, I feel like I have to do this. So after the book came out, I felt like my whole line of social media is my work and celebrities and parties and, events and Golden Globes and Oscars. Now I have to change it a little bit, and I have to, not that completely just let go of my career and not post anything about it, but I need to also talk about the real things. Yes, now you know what I've been through. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about domestic violence and immigration and women's rights. And I so often say, know your privilege, because people don't know, what we go through to get here. I tell my own nieces and nephews who were born here, I'm like, you guys are so privileged. You don't understand where your mother and I, came from and what we had to endure to get here.
And I think it also, by talking about it, it makes you more relatable. I would think that more people want to follow you now, knowing what you've been through and that you weren't an overnight success born with a silver spoon in your mouth, that this just happened, but that you have a true story behind all of it. It makes you more human. That's my opinion. I would want to connect with you more because of it, because I know your background and your truth.
That's how I feel. I feel like if I'm following not that I'm a celebrity or anything, but okay, I have a book out and I'm a celebrity stylist. So I have a lot of followers that I don't know. They're from all around the world. And they started following me for my work with celebrities because they're a fan of that celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was warned. Some people told me, don't do it. If you're going to like do it, just have a completely separate page for, your book and your, activism and your, want to be an advocate, do it separately. And I thought about it for a little bit. I'm like, I'm the same person though. I'm not, this and then that. I'm not a celebrity stylist and then separate person. I'm the same person. So if people don't want to see my message and what I have to say, and they just want to see fashion and party and clothes and events and things like that, then they shouldn't look at, the posts that I do about, women's rights and women in Afghanistan or in Iran or, hostages and all these prisoners, situation back home or anything else that I talk about. So I felt like, okay, again, this is going to be very unauthentic of me to separate these two. These are the issues that everybody deals with. I'm not just one dimension. And, I had to take the risk and do it.
I think it's great. And you took the authenticity was exactly what came to my mind as well. Because I think especially in the online sphere, so many people are afraid of if I speak my truth and this is what I believe in and this is what I want to fight for, that, oh, I'm going to lose followers or I'm not going to get the client that I want. And I'm of the mindset of I don't care. If you don't think that I should be talking about, women's rights, Black Lives Matter, anything, of those realms, then we're not going to work together well either. You don't need to follow me because these are what I believe in. And if you don't believe in it, next, I feel very passionately about that. And I think that is about being authentic. So I'm proud of you for sticking to it and not taking the crummy advice that was offered.
People give you so many different advices, like you should do this, you shouldn't do that. And I had to just, sit with myself and think, what do I feel is right to do? What does it, how does it feel to me to do this or do that? And I had to do what feels right to me. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, I get messages that people are like, shut up, or, they say things that's like, just not your place to talk about this or talk about that, or they don't want to hear it. And if you're going to stand up for something and if you're going to, fight for something, I know these people exist. They're going to come at you. I didn't want to just stay neutral and just talk about fashion and talk about, celebrities. It's just like, I did it for many, many years because I wasn't ready to speak about my experiences and talk about, other things that I'm passionate about. And I found my voice after my book came out, and I was like, it's only right for me to also give voice to those people who don't have a voice. Mm-hmm. And also, I feel like, I'm older now, so it doesn't affect me personally as much. But I look at my, nieces who are younger, and I see how social media affects younger generation.
Yeah.
And I knew from the messages that I would get when I was posting about my work that people really, these girls thought, this life, oh my God, like you are so fortunate. And I am. I know my privilege and I know I am fortunate to be where I am. But that's all they saw. Mm-hmm. The Netflix parties, the, after parties for Golden Globes, the Emmys, they only saw that part. And for somebody who doesn't, who lives in middle America or lives in, I don't know, Turkey or in Kuwait, in a country that they don't know how it is. They think like, what a great life these people have. So my life, like compared to that, is so bad, and they feel bad about themselves. So after many years of me just posting about my work and my, fun aspects of my life, I felt really, really obligated to also, okay, now that the book is out, let's talk about the struggles. Like, let's talk about everything that every human especially as a woman, especially as a Middle Eastern woman, and especially as an immigrant, what we had to deal with. And what you see is not with these influencers, posting all these things. I feel like it's an obligation and a responsibility to also show the human side of you. What are you dealing with? Is it eating disorder? Is it depression? Is it, in my experience, domestic violence? Having no rights as a woman in my own country. So there are things that everybody deals with as a human being, and it's important to talk about those things too, so people can relate and don't feel bad about themselves and their lives, and thinking, "Oh wow, these people are living such fabulous lives, and look at me." It's very important for people to know that, especially, as I said, younger generation.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I love that you think about that and thought about that as you've done all of this work. That it isn't all glitz and glamour, and
No,
younger people need to understand that there's a lot of hard work, there's journeys, there's struggles to get to the path that you've now been on. So I applaud you. I could talk to you all day. When's the movie going to come out? Because we need a movie.
I don't know. I'm still waiting for that call.
You let me know. I'll be right there with you.
I will. I'm waiting for that call. I'm hoping that we could, make it, because I feel like it would reach a lot more people. But, after the, something that I want a lot of younger girls to know is, because I feel like when it comes to sexual harassment, not just in my industry or everywhere in every industry, it's very hard to talk about it, and it's very hard to come out and say that you're being abused or you're being harassed, or the things that have happened to you. And I one of the biggest reasons I decided to do my book was it was around the Me Too movement when it started, and I saw how brave these women were coming out and talking about their experiences, and they were not ashamed, and they were not scared, and they weren't afraid of losing that reputation, that image, or the opportunities that would come their way. And I'm not gonna lie, I have lost clients because I mostly work with men. Most of my clients, I want to say like 85% of them are male, and the rest is female. But I've lost clients, since I decided that I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to, be outspoken about this issue. So once you decide to take a stand for something that you believe in, you will get backlash. You would, lose clients or friends, or, things will not always go your way, but it's very satisfying to know that you are actually standing for something that you believe in.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that there are men that left you as clients, but good riddance at the same time. Yeah. You don't need that kind of nonsense in your world.
No.
And they don't deserve to be styled.
They don't. At least not by me.
No, not by anyone, really. They don't belong in the celebrity status. They don't deserve it.
Yeah, and not all of them are celebrities. They're just like men from all, walks of life. I work with entrepreneurs. I work with, people who are kind of like professionals who are very busy, and, business owners. It's not always celebrities. It happens everywhere. It literally happens everywhere. And unfortunately, it's a culture that has gotten a little better, but it's still
a long way. Yeah, we have a lot to work on, especially in this country. So much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just scratching the surface, I feel.
Yeah, you're not going to be popular with, everyone when you just, try to do the right thing and speak out, but it's worth it.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Can you share with everyone where they can find you, please?
Sure. I'm most active on Instagram. So it's Naz, Naz _ Meknat, Meknat. That's my Instagram handle. Naz Meknat is my Facebook as well. So they can find me under, that's my website. Everything is under just my name, NAZ_MEKNAT.
And 7,000 Miles to Freedom. I know they can get on Amazon. Anywhere else?
They can order it on Barnes & Noble online or Amazon. Amazon is just the easiest way.
Perfect. And it's a must read for everybody. I promise you that. Thank you so much for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I love how this conversation included how Naz found her authentic voice and her honesty around how difficult that can be, especially if you're in the public eye. It's so important that we act as examples for others to not only see what is possible by living out our purpose, but by standing up for what we believe in. Please go out and buy a copy of 7,000 Miles to Freedom and support Naz. Follow her on social media and let her be the example you need to use your voice for doing better. Until next week, stand up for what you believe in, recognize your own strength, and know that everyone is on a journey that might not be as glamorous as it appears.